Hello. Today's video is going to be about doctors and talking to your doctor about natural and alternative healing methods. Tricky subject because I know I've expressed some of my kind of pent-up anger and resentment that still kind of leaks out once in a while. Just because my personal journey involved a lot of letdown where the professional medical community is concerned, psychiatrists and other specialists that were helping me deal with different issues. And my journey ended up being that I discovered how ultimately to heal with 100% natural therapies, things that were a lot of times completely free, and just took some personal studying and awakening to bring into my world. So I really tried hard to heal in the past with doctors, and when that didn't work out for me, I felt really burned. So I'm sharing this video today because I've actually kind of had my heart grow a little bit. I've got some new, fresh compassion for doctors and the medical professionals, the individuals specifically, because I think like a lot of people, I convolute the individuals with the system, and that's, not fair. So I don't want to do that. I want to definitely bring out the new hope that I have. I'm not someone that goes to the doctor anymore. I just am able to care for myself. Now, if my arm was falling off, of course, I'm going to go to the hospital and get them to reattach it. But otherwise, I've been able to take care of myself. Now, I know that that's not everyone's situation. I started off in pretty fair health when I decided to stop going to the doctor, so I didn't have a health crisis that was kind of keeping me tethered to a treatment or a medication. So a lot of people are opening up to alternative therapies, and they would like their doctor to kind of put the approval stamp on it. And so they'll ask their doctor about it, and who knows what kind of experiences everyone's actually having in their consultations. But I can kind of guess that the general reaction is that the doctors probably don't have a lot of education or knowledge on the alternative therapies, and so it's really not part of their schematic, and it isn't something that their conscious brain even can consider as like a valid approach to treating what you've come to them for. It's not part of their learning, it's not part of their menu, and they're not, conditioned to believe in it. They're really conditioned to go the other way, and anything that's from the layman or the naturopathy community is kind of just flicked away and even laughed at sometimes. So individually is it's going to differ from doctor to doctor how they respond when you bring up alternative therapies, but I think that there is hope. I think that there are a lot of doctors that are waking up, that they want to offer more than what they've been equipped with in their education, and they just don't have the support to take the risk to cross the line. And also, people, probably a lot of people wouldn't even be receptive to it anyway. But this is more about if you're into alternative therapies and you're seeing a doctor, you're dealing with something already, the conventional medical method, and you would like to bring in the naturopathy approaches. This video is just going to be about maybe how to go about doing that, and the idea behind the impact that could have if we did start doing this, if we did start talking to our doctors without fear and without judgment, and we really just started the conversation to start making the impact, the impression that the community is ready for the natural healing, and the community also is not ready to give up their doctors. They have grown up relying and trusting their doctors, and I think that if their doctors can become worthy of that trust and really start dispensing the truth, that's the most beautiful unfolding we could have in this scenario where we have this system that's blocking out so much of the natural, free, valid healing modalities. So, this is about the individual. So many of our doctors, they have huge hearts and they are operating with the best intentions, and they totally believe in the advice that they dispense. It's what they apply to their own life. It's the knowledge that they apply to how they care for their own family. With a limited set of knowledge, with just the academic version of things, what tools can we really expect them to share with us? They're taught allopathy, they're taught to treat symptoms, they're taught to manage disease. They are managing the route toward death in one aspect. It's kind of a brutal way to put it. And unfortunately, this is all under the pretense that they are actually empowered to cure and heal, and that they're in possession of our most advanced medical knowledge, the most advanced wisdom with regard to the human body's needs and processes. They're revered in our society almost like gods. And this is a great responsibility. And they didn't invent the authority figure dynamic, and the system totally, props them into this position. It's arranged so that they are generously rewarded for their medical skills. And since our culture, equates financial income with perceived value, all the signs around doctors just point to them being, miracle workers and Superman, and that archetype of just they are the authority is the impression that we get. So there's no room for a doctor to even question themselves that they've bought into a mass control mechanism. So we can't blame them for kind of being locked off into their own superiority above anything that the layman can suggest. But we want to look for the ones that are cracking out of that are kind of smelling the odor of that. So, obviously not every doctor is cracking out of that. Some of them love it. They don't care about people. They just care about money and status, and they care more about public approval than public health. They won't really ever investigate the true consequences of their actions and of the advice that they dispense. They don't have time probably to even think about it. But the doctors I do, want to talk about, they're doctors and physicians who deeply care about their patients' health and total well-being. They're the ones conflicted. They're registering the disturbance in the medical narrative. They're noticing the absence of some basic things like compassion, empathy, humanity, the aspect of caring for the person at the level of human connection. These are the doctors who inspire me and give me hope that a bridge can be built between science and the non-physical X factor of the inner life, or the spiritual essence, the soul. And maybe we can use the mainstream constructs, establish credibility of doctors to reach the masses, maybe through offering support, confirmation, insight around alternative healing successes. The naturopathic layman's energetic ripple can reach the inside of the Death Star. I mean, the academic medical community, that's what I meant to call it. So my resentment around this has dissipated a little bit. I'm seeing the humor in things. My hope is blooming. I hope I'm conveying that here. I'm thinking that those of us who are experiencing these natural healing miracles, maybe we are clearing the path for the people who are still heavily programmed and they just can't accept the simplicity. They still need a level of certainty. They still need science to back it. For me, that's a consciousness virus that we're all in the process of clearing out. But maybe eradicating it or even bypassing it isn't an option, and maybe infiltration is the path for the modern day revolution. We can infiltrate the conscious minds of doctors with ideas and knowledge, with truth on our side. with a heart for peaceful coexistence, guiding the mission. We embody our own wisdom and walk our path with authenticity. Transparency, perhaps not. We're talking infiltration. This is the strategy called for. And in my opinion, considering the methods and objectives, it's literally harmless to any human being. However, the construct component, the system that we are infiltrating, it does need to be taken into account. I don't know how the system would react to this energetic ripple, and I can't really predict or know the extent of, how the system will react or how a doctor will react. Doctors who do open up to alternative therapies can become targets. Medicine is a big machine. It's a money-making cultural narrative. Everyone tolerates that it's mandated that we have medical insurance. That's because everyone's bought into the narrative that it's necessary and the best, and we're just brought up. There's no room for objection in our minds. So that's all to say that this is not an easy route for them to disembark from. There needs to be some signal of hope emerging from the collective consciousness, something to support the courage it takes to step outside a well-ingrained mental comfort zone. There needs to be an observable presence of a forward creative energy with regard to alternative non-medical therapies. We need to clean up the woo and rein in the pseudo-realities. We need to come from a place of balance and awareness. We need to disengage from criticisms and judgments. We need to disengage from any divisive outlooks. Basically, no blaming. We need to transmit our inner joy. We need to embody the energy that we want to ripple into the collective. We need to embody the wisdom that we want to ripple into the collective consciousness. We need to shake off the fear and insecurity that are triggered when we go off script. We need to recognize the greater purpose in activating our courage, transcending the fear of social disapproval. How can we ask a doctor to consider doing what we aren't willing to risk doing ourselves? For a doctor to dispense advice that acknowledges the ability to cure cancer or acknowledges the efficacy of naturopathic treatment, they are crossing a legal line. They are speaking out in a way that their authority figures forbid, and it's forbidden usually under the pretense of public safety, which is not true, but they don't know that. They need a good reason to believe that that line is worth crossing and that the risk is worth taking. They need to know people are out here wanting the guidance and skills of their physician, but also wanting to consider off-the-menu options. That there are people, viable candidates for total recovery and restoration through natural, holistic approaches. Meaning that if they open up to this, they have the ability to give someone the key to completely restore their health, and no big pharma company is going to make any money off of it, and no, their colleagues aren't going to like hearing about it, but still, as a personal choice, they could go around the typical way. We want to facilitate open communication and open discussion of potentials and options, other research and case studies. Anything that will lend to the potency of the patient's belief. The same way that all this pharma marketing and conventional medicine have used their culturally imposed image to energize the patient's faith in their methods. Sometimes their methods work, and sometimes placebo works. The individual's belief is a component in their healing potential. And on a side note, I wondered, could the collective's belief also contribute to the efficacy? Could it hinder it, or could it improve it? I feel like it probably can and does. With optimism, hope, faith, and belief, the body is hugely relieved from the task of managing unnecessary stress hormones, mental anguish, and body tension. Belief in the conscious mind lets the healing do its thing, namely nature uninterrupted. Now, discerning a doctor's perspective, trying to figure out, is your doctor open to this kind of stuff or not? You just start inquiring and observing. You don't go too deep too quick. But first asking yourself, kind of getting a temperature on the doctor's attitude, asking yourself, is the doctor seeking cooperation from my education, my involvement, and my empowerment? Or is the doctor seeking the cooperation of my programmed trust and my conditioning to project my authority over my health? So inquire, observe, ask what their thoughts are about specific modalities. You may have done some research and found something that seems like it's going to work for you, that you're really hopeful. See if they've even heard of such a thing. And if they haven't heard of it, then observe if they weigh in on it and try to dismiss it. Basically observe, especially if you're not getting a warm reception. Work with curiosity, work with a willingness, their willingness to try what you believe can work for you. Communicate that the potency potential of your belief is available to help fuel the efforts and facilitate the effects, and this may inspire them. Communicate your hope and see what reciprocates from your doctor. If there's something there to work with, and if your family isn't a threat to his sense in rightness in supporting you, then help that unfold, and rein your family in if they are not supportive of your alternative methods. Be sane, be balanced, be respectful, and unless your doctor is clearly manipulative or abusive, be willing to hear them out. Be willing to let them stay in their own world if they don't seem at all interested in coming out. Be willing to smile back at them in peace, demonstrate your sanity and balance, and leave them with the tiny seed of your innocent inquiry. When appropriate and when welcomed, do share your positive experiences, and do so without condescending the virtue of the medical professionals. Do demonstrate your personal protest to fuckery, falsehood, and the cultural narrative of disease management. Do so with your choices, your compassion, and your transmutation of all potentials. Being the change starts with the self, so you cannot go into the doctor acting like a wackadoo and just flying off and being critical and dismissive of them. Give the respect that you would like to receive back, and if they reciprocate, then that's beautiful. But remember, being the change starts with the self, and actualizing the change perhaps starts with engaging our developed awareness, our intuition, our insight, and playing our cards wisely, using our understanding of the conscious mind's aperture of reality, accounting for its distortions, its programming and filtering, its fears and conditioned narrowness. Know what you're working with, and just acting with compassion in the face of that. Doctors who are inclined to awaken need the support of their community. They need to know their journey into medicine has not been for naught. They need to see that the intuitions they receive about alternative healing possibilities can be received by a society that currently begs for pills and loves their own enslavement to consumption. Doctors need to feel inspired to bridge their skills, knowledge, experience, and education with the new possibilities, new perspectives, and new realities. If you get the chance to speak up and discuss alternative natural therapy with your doctor, do so from a position beyond fear. Walk in love, walk in compassion, stay in awareness, stay in observer mode, until you feel that resonant connection with them. It's a balance of asserting your authority over your own body with a willingness to cooperate with their input as advisor and not as commander. And this demonstrates your respect for your doctor as well as your respect for yourself. And the conversation is a chance to test the waters of cooperation. So go with the flow, and good luck to you. may you find the diamonds in the rough.